So Carlos Molina wins a 12-round split decision over Ishe Smith to become the new IBF junior middleweight champion. They tried to rob Floyd in the main event, and they tried to rob Carlos Molina on the undercard. Because believe you me, people, this fight between Carlos Molina and Ishe Smith was not close. Anyone who believes this fight was close, you need to go watch the fight again. You either need to watch the fight again, and don't listen to the commentators. Commentators seriously color a person's perception about the way the fight is going. Watch the fight again with the sound off. This fight was not close in the slightest. Carlos Molina dominated Ishe Smith just as comprehensively as Floyd did with Canelo Alvarez. This fight was not close at all. And interestingly enough, even though they had different judges for the Molina-Smith fight and the Floyd-Alvarez fight, the scoring was almost identical. Even though Molina and Floyd both clearly won the fights, they were not even close fights. Even though both guys clearly won, the scoring was almost identical, right? If you look at Floyd versus Canelo, one judge had it 116-112 for Floyd. The other judge had it 117-111 for Floyd. And then the third judge, CJ Ross, had it 114-114, right? Even. And if you look at Ishe Smith, Carlos Molina, one judge had it 116-112 for Molina. The other judge had it 117-111 for Molina. And the third judge had it 116-112 for Smith. So two of those cards there, in terms of the scoring, was identical to the scoring of Floyd Canelo, right? 116-112 and 117-111. That's pretty strange, but I think it's fitting because the performances were equally as dominant. Molina absolutely dominated Ishe Smith. The fight wasn't close in any way. When I was watching the Box Nation coverage with the terrible John Rawlin and Barry Jones commentating, those guys don't know anything about how to score a fight. These guys are completely inept and just borderline retarded. I mean, Barry Jones, this guy's a former fighter himself. I don't know what's wrong with the guy. Maybe he needs to get his eyes sorted out. I don't know what it is. But this fight wasn't close in this. I mean, don't get it twisted. Barry Jones did have Molina winning the fight, but they were, literally Molina. You could have given Ishe Smith maximum 2 rounds in the fight. I'm being serious. Maximum 2 rounds. Molina absolutely walked it. It wasn't even slightly close. You could you could actually make more of a case for giving Canelo more than 2 rounds against Floyd than you could of Ishe Smith winning more than 2 rounds against Molina. The fight wasn't even slightly close. And just like the main event, Floyd against Canelo, there was a massive size difference in this fight. Ishe Smith looked 2 weight divisions bigger than Carlos Molina. And even though he was 2 weight divisions bigger and he was facing a guy with no power in Carlos Molina, Molina was still bullying him all around the ring. It's what Molina does. A lot of people are not familiar with Carlos Molina. Carlos Molina has an ugly boxing style. He's not someone like Floyd who's blessed with athleticism. He's more like a Bernard Hopkins type fighter who he don't really have any kind of speed or power. Pound for pound, he has even less power than Hopkins. But what he does have is an incredible boxing brain, very high ring IQ. He's tactically excellent. He gets it bang on every single time he fights. This guy, like I said in my pre-fight video, is the most underrated junior middleweight in the world, hands down. This guy's so underrated, it's criminal. Now, like I said, he's an ugly fighter to watch. His fights are not pretty, but he knows exactly what to do. He knows where to be. He knows what tactics to pull off. And just like Hopkins, I've compared him as a similar kind of fighter to Hopkins. I'm obviously not saying he's as great as Hopkins. He's nowhere near as accomplished, but he's a similar kind of fighter. And just like Hopkins, he's dirty, right? Molina he pulls out every trick in the book. He's going to try all that dirty stuff on the inside. He does whatever he has to do to take you off your game plan. Yeah, that's what Molina does. It's not pretty. He bends the rules, he breaks the rules, but he does whatever he has to do to get the win. And if you look at his record, if you go back and watch his fights, this guy's been robbed so many times, it's not even funny. Yeah, Mike Alvarado, that was a very controversial fight. The 2 fights with Chavez Jr., very controversial. I thought he won at least one of those fights. Erislandy Lara, he won that fight. James Kirtland, he was beating Kirtland until that BS disqualification. Yeah, he's also beat Kermit Cintron a few years ago. Molina is one of the most underrated fighters in boxing, period. But he's also the most underrated junior middleweight in the world. And I said this on Facebook, and someone thought I was joking. I said this before Floyd and Canelo fought on Saturday night. I said this before then on Facebook. I said that Carlos Molina could beat Canelo Alvarez. And I'm not, and the guy who, who read the comment first thought I was joking. I'm not joking. Carlos Molina, I would pick him in a heartbeat to beat Canelo Alvarez. Absolutely no question. Yeah, people look at Molina and they think, oh, he can't punch and he's not very fast and all this kind of stuff. Listen, he gets results. Look how effective he is. Go back and watch his fights. Yeah, before this fight on Facebook, I was saying Molina's going to win. He's an uncrowned champion, but they might try and rob him, which they did. And, a couple people were like, no way. Ishe Smith should be able to beat him. No, you ain't watched enough Carlos Molina if that's how you felt. You ain't what I mean. Don't get it twisted. Like I keep saying, it's hard to watch a lot of Carlos Molina. All right, it's hard to watch a lot of him because he's such an ugly fighter. Right, the way he fights and stuff like that is so ugly. It's not an attractive style to watch. But this guy is very, very effective. People, he's very, very effective, and no doubt he's one of the best junior middleweights out there. And he's been robbed so many times. He's had a very hard career. He was thrown in at the deep end very early on. This guy was not pampered. He was thrown in with tough fighters almost immediately when he started his boxing career. All right, after 10 fights or so, this guy was in with some of the best guys around. Yeah, so he's had a very, very tough career. He's been thrown in at the deep end. He's learned his trade the hard way. A blue-collar fighter just like Marvin Hagler, just like Bernard Hopkins. Again, don't start, bleeding from your pussy because I mentioned him in the same sentence as Hagler and Bernard Hopkins. I'm not saying he's as good as those guys. I'm just comparing his career in terms of him being thrown in at the deep end. And I'm also comparing him stylistically to Hopkins in the sense that both of those guys are not athletically gifted. But somehow they managed to be successful because of their ring IQ and their tactical awareness. Molina's tactics are always bang on. He don't always fight the same in every fight. He actually fights differently quite a lot in various fights. Against James Kirtland, he completely smothered Kirtland. Yeah, he got on the inside. He made it a very, very physical fight with loads of holding and wrestling and all that kind of stuff. He tried that a little bit in this fight, but for Carlos Molina, this was actually quite a clean fight, if you can believe that. The referee definitely was, I don't want to necessarily say he was against Molina, although it did appear to be that way at some points in the fight. I know Molina is dirty, but I thought the referee was going a bit over the top with some of the stuff he was doing, Jay Nady. And this fight really called for someone like Steve Smoger to be in there. But then again, it was a big event. And I guess they wanted to put a referee in there who would keep the fight clean and make it a more enjoyable spectacle for the people who came and paid good money to see a night of boxing. But, nonetheless, the right guy got the victory in the end. And I'll be interested to see Carlos Molina in there with the best guys 154 pounds. In my eyes, he's already beat Erislandy Lara, although they could have a rematch to settle the score. You could see him in there with Miguel Cotto. You could see him in there with Alvarez. These are possible fights. I can't see Carlos Molina ever fighting Floyd Mayweather because this guy couldn't sell ice to Eskimos, right? If you think that someone like, maybe Robert Guerrero or some of these other welterweights that, can't really sell anything were unattractive for Floyd, even though he fought Guerrero, then Carlos Molina is just about the most unattractive fighter there is for Floyd to face. This guy, I don't even think he brought any fans with him to the fight. So I highly doubt this guy will ever get a chance at Floyd Mayweather, but he may get a crack at some of the other bigger names at 154. Like I say, Miguel Cotto, that's a possible fight for him. Canelo Alvarez. In an ideal world, I'd like to see him fight Floyd Mayweather. I think he deserves that fight. If you look at his career, you look at what he's done, you look how much he's been robbed. I think he deserves it. He's more accomplished at 154 than Canelo Alvarez was. Canelo Alvarez has fought one legit guy at 154, and that's Trout. And that was a very close fight. A lot of people thought Trout won, including myself. Whereas Carlos Molina, he beat Erislandy Lara, right? To me, he beat Chavez Jr. when Chavez Jr. was lower in weight. This guy's very accomplished, people. Very, very accomplished. So in an ideal world, I think he deserves a shot at Floyd at 154. But that's not going to happen. It's understandable, to be honest, right? Molina is ugly, fights ugly, and he brings absolutely no marketability to the table. There's nothing about this guy that could sell a fight. So, you know, none of the fans really are calling for Molina to fight anyone big. So it's understandable to a certain extent. But, you know, just on his merits alone, Molina deserves to be with all, you know, be in there with any of the top guys at 154, you know, including Floyd, just on his merit alone. So, yeah, I'm happy for the guy. He's one of those blue collar fighters that's had it hard in his career and not got what he's deserved so far. But it's good to see him pick up his first world title. And, you know, hopefully he'll have some better luck from this point on in his career. So, yeah, drop your comments in the comment section below if you watch this fight. And, yeah, we'll discuss it in the comment section, man. This is Hatman. I'm out.